the year ending December 31, 2024. As of today's date, the audit is complete, with the exception of obtaining approval of the financial statements by Mayor and Council, which hopefully we'll have today once the financial statements have been reviewed. So if you're following along with the agenda and the package, as of today's date, the audit is nothing like hearing your own voice. So we've got the financial statements for the village. You'll see on the front page, if you do have the package, it's Village of Gold River financial statements, December 31, 2024. A couple of reports are at the start of the package, the first being the management report. This report outlines the responsibilities of management for these financial statements, noting that ultimately it is management's responsibility to ensure that the financial statements are appropriate and for maintaining the accounting systems of the village. Our auditor's report is the next report within the financial statement package. The auditor's report outlines our responsibilities as your auditors, and again, management's responsibilities for the financial statements. The first paragraph also notes our audit opinion, which is an unqualified audit opinion, or in other words, a clean audit opinion, which means a good thing. It's a good thing. Moving on to the statement of financial position. On page 4, there's the little page 4 on the bottom right-hand corner of the statement of financial position. This is where the assets and liabilities of the village are presented as of December 31, 2024. So total cash as of the end of 2024 was $4.09 million. This is an increase from $2.9 million in 2023. The increase this year primarily relates to an annual surplus in the village of over $500,000, as well as an increase in deferred revenue for the year of over $400,000. So within deferred revenue, you'll note down under liabilities or unearned revenue, there's $2.2 million in unearned revenue, an increase of about $400,000, as I mentioned, and this is sitting partially in your cash balance. Underneath cash, you have temporary investments of $10 million. This consists of GICs that are held with varying terms, and they've got rates of 4 to 5.7%. Accounts receivable total was $499,000. This is outlined, what's included in this balance is outlined in note 4 of the financial statements. It includes taxes receivable, as well as other trade and grants receivables. So if you did want to be following along within the notes, you'll note on page 11 is where note 4 is found. Taxes receivable totaled $255,000. Other governments was primarily grants receivable of $148,000, and then other receivables are $95,000. Under your liabilities, you'll find accounts payable, which are relatively consistent from year to year, sitting at $567,000. Your asset retirement obligation for the year was $487,000, and this consists of the liability for amounts that are expected to go into your assets to remediate them for any existing legal obligations. The vast majority of your asset retirement obligation relates to asbestos within buildings, which legally has to be remediated before those buildings can be demolished or retired. There was an increase within your asset retirement obligation balance this year of about $11,000 relating to an adjustment for inflation. So the increase of expected costs that would have to go into remediating those assets. Unearned revenue for the year is sitting at $2.2 million. And that's an increase of, as I mentioned, of about $400,000 this year. The main increase in your unearned revenue relates to gas tax funding of $200,000 that has been received but not spent, as well as Province of BC LGCAP funding, which relates to funding specifically for climate action purposes, $146,000 on that. So those are, again, funds that have been received that have not yet been spent, and that's reflected in your cash balance as well as your investment balance, which part of that cash and investment balance would be attributable to that unearned revenue or amounts received that needs to be spent. Deferred contributions of $140,000, those are consistent with the previous year and relates to funding for the wharf. wharf dredging that has not been spent yet, and there is an extension on that grant going into next year that allows you to continue carrying forward that funding. Under non-financial assets, your biggest item down here is the tangible capital assets. So those are actual physical assets that are owned by the village, and is broken down further in note 9. Note 9 you will find on page 13, and you can see the additions to your capital assets as well as the amortization that has been taken on those assets. Significant additions this year. There were several. There was a dock refurbishment that was completed for the year. The total amount spent on the dock was about $50,000. There was also a Kubota loader that was purchased for $96,000 for solid waste. A backup generator was purchased for $42,000 for administrative purposes. And there was new energy efficient doors and windows of $34,000 installed at the public safety building. So I'll move down to the next statement, the next page within the financial statements. So page 5, the statement of operations, where the revenues and expenditures of the village are presented for the year. So under revenues, you'll note the total revenue for the year was just almost about $4.8 million, down from $4.9 million in the previous year. Your most significant source of revenue is taxation revenue, which for the year was $1.3 million. This is an increase of just about $800,000 over the previous year and is consistent with our expectations based on the proper number of properties and tax rates for the year. Government grants and transfers is your next most significant revenue source, sitting at $1 million, and it's broken down further in Schedule 1 of the financial statements. There was a decrease in government grants and transfers this year. Biggest reason for that was that there was a large infrastructure development grant, a one-time grant that was received in 2023. Also included in your government grants and transfers, one of the most significant sources of funding that you receive is the Small Communities Grant. $459,000 was received from the province of BC under that grant. And that was an increase over the previous year of about $30,000. Under wharf services, you'll note the total revenue for the year was $212,000. There was a payment from Grieg Seafood received this year that was retroactive pay from a previous year that they notified the village was still owed to the village, so that was received this year. Investment income was $644,000, and that consists primarily of interest revenue on those various GICs that I mentioned. And you'll note there's an increase of almost $100,000 this year relating to increasing interest rates. Expenditures for the year totaled $4.2 million. They are broken out by segment, so the various operating departments within the village. A few of the bigger changes I'll comment on. So government services, there was $664,000 spent this year. It was a reduction from the previous year of $808,000. Main reason for that was because of reduced grants to other organizations of about $140,000 less spent on that this year. General protective services, total spent was $268,000. Primary reason for that was increased amounts spent within the fire department on safety supplies and other equipment. Within public works, there was an increase in total expenditures, sitting at $532,000 this year. This primarily related to contract services surrounding the asset management plan, for which there was a grant received this year. Another big change was within the community development services segment. Total spent was $303,000. Primary reason for that was amount spent on wages and supplies for economic development in the current year. About $100,000 spent on those activities. And finally, the last large change I'll point out is within wharf services. Total spent this year was just $53,000 compared to $650,000 last year. Reason for the decrease was that in 2023, there was a large wharf warehouse project that was completed, resulting in the decrease in the amount spent in that department this year. So overall, the annual surplus for the year is $550,000. Following this, the next pages, you'll find the notes to the financial statements. There's no real big changes within the notes this year. Everything is relatively consistent, and I've pointed out a few of them. The last couple of pages consist of a few supporting schedules to the village's financial statements. Touched on Schedule 1, which outlines the grants. Schedule 2 and 3 breaks out the statement of operations by segment. So each of those departments within the village, revenues and expenditures are broken out. And I won't go through those in detail. Schedule 4 breaks out the reserve fund transactions. So the amounts that council have designated to reserves. There was an increase in the reserve balance of 237 of interest amounts that have been allocated to those reserves, and that's based on the amount within each reserve. And then expenditures from the reserve all reserves totaled $196,000. Final reserve balance for the year is sitting at $4.04 million. Then finally, we have Schedules 5 and 6. Schedule 5 breaks out the carry forward COVID-19 Safe Restart grant funding. There's $270,000 being carried forward under that grant that can be spent on a very broad range of items, very non-specific. And finally, Schedule 6, the Growing Communities Fund grant. There's $982,000 remaining in that fund, again, to be spent on a very broad range of eligible expenditures there as well. I'm happy to take any questions on the financial statements if there are any.
As always, thanks for your very professional presentation. And councilors, do you have any questions for our presenter? No questions? It must be a very comprehensive presentation because I've answered everybody's questions. Or else we had the advantage of having you for like 35 minutes before the public did, so.
It's helpful for sure. Yeah, thank you very much for having me, and a big thanks to Mike for getting the audit done and all of his assistance on top of getting his normal job done at the same time.
Yeah, you take care and safe travels home.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Nice. Next item on our agenda is administrative reports, and there's a motion that council approve and accept the 2024 financial statements as presented. Can we move that? Councillor Waymeyer, seconded by Councillor Fossen. Any discussion? No questions in the previous presentation. I didn't think there'd be any discussion. Call for the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Good. Since Administrator Roy, since Director of Operations Joe Doxey's report has been brought back to us again because it was tabled, do we need to go through receiving it again, or can we just go into the motions that I've made available for the councilors to consider?
There was a small edit to that report, so I would receive it again, Your Worship.
You like just go through right at the beginning? Okay, we'll receive it for information again. Okay, the community gardens, the report from the Director of Operations be received. Who would care to move that? Councillor Waymeyer, second by Councillor Fossen. Discussion. Councillor
Waymeyer. Just so everybody knows, I had LASIK surgery on the weekend. I'm just not too cool for you to see my eyes today.
Started off with that.
So yeah, I really wanted to see this report come back to us because I think it's, on us to give the Garden Society a permanent location that they can call home. We've dragged this out. Their current location is not necessarily a long-term location for this year. And so hopefully we can get them started in a new home moving forward. So I'm going to come out and say that I am in favor of them going to the helicopter park or Dogwood Park for a number of reasons. It's an underused park for one. The space they're using up is, call it a third to a half of what the park space is. which is not the playground equipment, it's the more open area. And there's, 2 other giant fields at Nimkish and the elementary school within a, half a kilometer walk, according to Google Maps anyway. It is, a community garden is a park use. It's, going to be very beneficial for people. I mean, I know I've seen community gardens in Courtney when I was there, and, people like to just go and look at things. It's very, interesting for young people to look and see things growing. It's, pretty nice addition to our community. The helicopter park, or sorry, Dogwood Park, would be the most ready to go location. Getting water to the area of Nimkish we were thinking is going to be not just a couple $100s, it's going to be into the thousands. And we can, or actually, do we have minutes? So I guess a question to Mr. Doxy, is there a estimation for what it would cost to get water to that corner of Nimkish?
Are you
Through the chair.
available- Are you available online? Director of Operations, Doxy?
Yes, if I may respond
Thank you.
through your worship. Yes, that was the one minor update to the report was the estimated cost for servicing the northern area of Nimkish Park. It's about 160 meters where the service connection comes into the park, and so that cost would be about $2,900 in materials and $1,500 in labor, totaling about $4,400, and that number includes 25% contingency. So that kind of gives you a ballpark. And staff were of the opinion or belief that Dogwood Park did have a hose bib present. It may need some minor repairs, but if it's present, it would be considered a minor, like an operational maintenance thing as opposed to a new construction thing.
Thank you, sir.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I guess I'll wrap it up with a couple other points. I mean, I know parking has been an issue that's been brought up. I know the gardens are, very valuable to people, but it's not like a huge sporting event. There's not a bunch of people there at once. There's maybe 2 or 3 people there at once. So parking for 1 or 2 cars is very different than parking for a dozen vehicles. And many people live in the community and like to walk anyway. And finally, I've heard 0 objections from people from Dogwood coming to me and saying, what are you doing? Don't you dare put a park into Dogwood. Like this has been on the table for quite a few months now. And, it was 3 weeks ago that we had a big discussion. And since then, I've seen nobody complain about Dogwood whatsoever. So, I mean, hopefully we can look at Dogwood as our big first option, both because it's what the Garden Society wants and because, it's probably the most plug and play, easy and cheapest option for us as a council and village.
Thank you, Councilor Remeyer. Councilor Fossin.
Thank you. Thank you to Councilor Remeyer for your input there on valuable insights, some things that I maybe never thought of about Dogwood Park. I'm still of a different opinion. I believe that we've directed staff to look in the wrong area at Nimkish Park. I don't know who said it was going to be in the very back, swampy area of Nimkish Park. Today I did not go and do it, but I think we need to really have staff look at the area of Nimkish Park that is beside the tennis courts. We have water hookup right there. It's an unused part of the park, even if you consider the use of the park mostly for Gold River Days and for the ball tournament. It's far enough away from the ball diamond that it's not going to affect play during the one weekend of the year that we use it for ball. It's also rate in an area where we do have a water hookup for our sprinkler system at Nipkish Park. And I think if we haven't actually talked about the master community plan of Nipkish Park, or I haven't seen it, I haven't heard about it. So my idea and understanding is it's a community park. We have a water park that has been developed and built, which is awesome and gets used wonderfully. The idea that we're going to put in a skate park or a pump park, I know previous councils have talked about that, but we have a liability issue. I think that's why it's never been put, those either two items have not been put in. I don't see a liability issue with the community garden going into Nipkish Park in the area that I'm talking about. It's right on, if you all drive by Nipkish Park or use Nipkish Park, you see that we have the tennis court, and then we have that large area where the old ball, where there was a ball diamond. And we're talking about Gold River Days, 1 weekend a year. This year is going to be great. It's 60 years. We're going to have a big party, but there's so much space at Nipkish Park. I see that as a viable permanent solution. We're not taking away a heritage park. I want to term it Heritage Park. My son used to play there at the helicopter park. Now he's 26. I do see other tots with parents playing in that park. Yes, maybe in the future as a council, we need to look at maybe getting some grants to take care of some of that equipment that is becoming maybe a tetanus hazard. Let me just put it that way. So I'm in opposition to Dogwood Park. I actually see that part of Nipkish Park as, maybe I will ask a question to our Director of Operations, but I don't know where we ever directed staff to look at that northern swampy part of Nipkish Park. So I really do think and on another point, I have had 6 residents of Dogwood Park come to me in the last 3 weeks, stating their opposition to it being the helicopter park being used. 1, their main issue is parking. 2, the use of the toddlers in that area. And I waffled back and forth, and I said, well, we have a great park at the elementary school with playground equipment that's brand new. But also too, I understand their concern with parking. We're gonna now, 1 or 2 trucks or cars or whatever. We have no guarantee of that. We don't know how many people are gonna come there. How many garden plots do we have? That represents how many people? 5, 6 cars, and yeah, I'm sorry. It's already being used for logging workers that live in that area. So there's congestion there. But anyways, that's my viewpoint. And I would like to ask a question through the chair to our Director of Operations.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Doxey, I do have a question for you. The water supply at Nipkish Park, where we have the sprinkler system set up, in that area, is that going to be will that be less costly than trying to set up at the northern end of Nipkish Park, sir?
I can't really speak to that in a lot of detail. We don't have it all marked out, other than I think there was initially some thoughts that we could tie into the sprinkler system and utilize it for watering, but it's a hydraulically driven control system for that. So we'd have to look at the area by the tennis courts to see, how much of it would have to be relocated, if any. It may not be any, but those are not huge details. In terms of the water supply, you could probably cut that into about 1/3 because it's just so much shorter than going across to the farther region of the park. The reason the far region of the park was selected was a combination of some conversations between the community garden, some previous feedback or conversations with council, and then physically trying to leave some space close up by the parking lot in the more active, kind of main entrance area for a future amenity that's kind of proposed in the budget. So, but the community garden, yes, it could be worked around, and we would just have to look into a little bit more detail on the irrigation. So.
Okay, thank you. That does answer my question. I guess the other thing that I see too is when you not only would be that park gets used quite a bit. I know Nimkish Park, there's a lot of people that like to walk around the track. But I also think it's a draw for our young students to have a field trip and to be able to easily walk from the elementary school over to Nimkish Park to see the community gardens. And especially if we get a grant to put in some new playground equipment in that area, where the old ball diamond is. Yeah, hopefully you all know what I mean, where the old ball diamond
Yep.
was by the tennis courts. So I'm not thinking of the area right in front of where we parked. Sorry, I'm not an engineer. I didn't do a nice drawing to present, but I just see it as a master plan going forward 5-10 years from now. Like, I see that as a valuable addition. And we won't be taking a park away from the Dogwood community. But in the future, I think we as council could look at maybe mitigating some of the hazards from the equipment at Dogwood Park. Those are my thoughts. Don't get me talking about the sunshine stuff because I have been looking at the sunshine, how the sunshine comes into Dogwood Park versus Nimkish Park. I'm not a technical person out there with a a light meter, but because I drive by there every morning and every afternoon, and Dogwood Park too. I mean, that's something that could be figured out, but that's my thoughts. I'm more proposed towards Nimkish Park and redirecting staff to be looking at that area by the tennis court. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Fossin. Who would like to go first? Councillor Pickard.
Thank you through the chair, and thank you, Councillor Waymeyer, for your thoughts, and Councillor Fossin. Appreciated both your comments and your insight. And all the way into, I just want to start by saying thanks so much to the Community Garden Society for your patience and all this. And I apologize for the back and forth, and also for missing the last meeting and discussion about it. But we appreciate your patience, and I hope you can see by the discussion, we really care about where it's set up and want longevity, want it to be a big addition to the community that we can be proud of and look back on and know that it was the right spot and it's the best for everyone that we can do. So anyway, I apologize for that. And my thoughts are a bit similar to Councillor Fossin's. I really don't think that the Dogwood Park or the Tetanus Heritage Park is underused. I think I have seen a few stitches happen from there, but really even in the last few weeks with the weather warming up, the T-ball and kites and a big birthday party for some twins on the block there, even the green space gets used, not just the rusty equipment. So I agree that I hope we can find a solution that's not taking that space away, but maybe building on some existing space. I like the idea of the Nimkish and including the garden in the community master plan, if that's a want from the Garden Society. And I also like option one that Mayor Lott proposed, and that would be, unfortunately, to everyone's time and patience to remain at the JCC, as the circumstances that didn't let us really look into a long-term lease no longer exist without saying too much. And that site was selected as the best site at the time by that council and is central. Hundreds of hours of work and time and materials have been put in. There's the water option, the daycare's there for learning and close to the school, and the food bank for the food security. So I hope we can find an option that works the best for everyone. And thanks everyone for your thoughts.
Thank you, Councillor Pickard. Councillor Pringle.
To the chair, thank you, everyone. I see everyone's points, and I myself, I do consider the Helicopter Park a heritage park. It was where I got my first kiss from Brian Litke. I'm gonna have a sign there that says, but I just would like to say that when we lived on Dogwood, the kids loved that park, and the green space, they used that to play Red Rover. It was contained. We didn't have to worry about them running out on the roads. I am concerned about the parking there because on a May long weekend, there's going to be more than one or two cars there. It's going to be full. I like the Nimkish idea, and I do like it better where Councillor Fossin had said. But I would like to see that maybe we need to go on a little trip, maybe with the Garden Society, and we can come to some spot there. I agree that it should be at Nimkish. I think it's central to town. I think it's going to be a legacy for us there. With the water park, it's going to be the middle of our town. And more people will be able to congregate there. And especially if we can get the track done at some point before I die, that would be very nice.
got the news for us?
Yeah. But yeah, I just think it's a better spot. And I think it could be better maintained there because people will be able to go there, park there, spend some time there, not have to worry about waking up babies around their places if they're doing digging or they're doing some sort of 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock planting. That's my opinion, and I'm happy. Thank you for the time.
Thanks for sharing with us, Councilor Pringle. Anybody else want to follow up with the subsequent? I'll just weigh in since I put a bunch of motions there for us to consider this evening. When the Gold River Community Gardens group first approached the village and asked if they could set up a community garden, the village went through the task of what we're doing right now, looking at the best site that we would have in the village to accommodate a facility like that. One that would be in an appropriate place that everybody would feel comfortable with and wouldn't impose on or take away from anything that we currently have. That site was identified as the JCC, and in good faith, the Gold River Community Gardens took that on and they built an outstanding facility there. And I've watched them, passionate volunteers, tireless down there doing things that they have to do. Donations coming from all over to help folks put that together. Turned out to be a great little facility in our community, a real asset, one of our little gems and the many treasures we have here. And they're happy there. They've been happy there. So I look at the best location for their facility, and the best location I can see is where they are currently. And as long as we don't sell that property, they could stay there indefinitely. They'd be very happy there, I'm quite sure. However, if we did sell it, which is a possibility, then they need some sort of assurance from the village, we're not just going to abandon them, and that their initiative and their enterprise is terminated. You know, we value that in our community now. It's an integral part of our community. We appreciate all the efforts that they put in. We know that the community gets so many benefits from it. We want to provide them with some sort of security that if we did sell that property and they were displaced, that we consented to a place for them to go. And the discussion I've heard around this table is that out of the 2 locations have been recommended by staff, Nimkish is the best location. And the site is to be determined. And that could happen between negotiations between the village and the Gold River Community Gardens. But my conviction is that the best site for them is where they are right now. I'd like them to be able to stay there indefinitely unless we sell the property, and we don't have any plans immediately to sell that property. It could be never sold. Might be a civic asset for all our time going forward. But if we do sell it, I want them to be assured that this council supports them and that we have a plan, contingency plan for relocation. So what I'll be doing is I'll be introducing the option 1 motion that you see on that list that I've got there. And I think that encompasses that concept. If it's not supported by council, of course, we can go down the list. And there's some other options down there that council has discussed this evening, or we can get to option 4 if we don't like all 3 of them. If we don't second or we defeat all 3 of them. But I think what we do have an obligation to do is to bring some closure here to this conversation, because it's been going on and on and on for a while. And I think we debated it to death and beat this horse to death. So I think we should get the decision tonight, and so those folks understand. where we are as a council. So that was my thought. So if there's no other further discussion on receipt, call for the question, all in favor? Okay, we received it. And the next motion I'd like to make would be that move option 1 on the sheets that I provide you folks with. And if somebody will give me one of those copies, because I give mine to Michael, I can read it, the first option into the public record. Option 1. That the Gold River Community Gardens Group remain in their current approved location at the Jack Christensen Center site. And that the Gold River Community Gardens be awarded a long-term lease for the current site, subject to lease cancellation. If the property were to be sold by the Village of Gold River, and the Gold River Community Gardens was displaced from their current JCC site. And if the JCC property was to be sold by the Village of Gold River, the Gold River Community Gardens is approved to relocate to Nimkish Park with a long-term lease, with the location of the site on Nimkish Park to be determined by the Village of Gold River in consultation with the Gold River Community Gardens Group. And all the terms and conditions for the lease are to be negotiated with the Village of Gold River. Somebody care to second that one? Discussion? No seconder? Councillor Waymire, Councillor Pickard. Okay. Discussion. Councillor Pringle.
Thank you to the chair. I appreciate this option 1. I think that if we're gonna move, if we're gonna give someone a long-term lease, why not give it to them at Nimkish Park and just get them there? They can get rolling and they can be there for time immemorial. I just feel like this kind of holds us back too, and it also it mostly holds them back. That's the way I feel about this, and I would have to vote no for this option. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Pringle. Councillor Waymire.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Pringle, and like to echo pretty much all of that sentiment. I mean, the biggest issue I have here is, I mean, we already have that, approval for the JCC for this upcoming year. But then the next line of awarding a long-term lease subject to cancellation just basically says you have a long-term lease, but we'll kick you out anytime, which is what they absolutely do not want at this point. They want a long-term home so they can pursue grants that need them to be in a location for, long-term. So I can't support this one. I am much happier giving them, their section of Nimkish Park. Given we have that master plan coming this year, I think that would be a great opportunity for staff and the community gardens to talk to each other about what the best option for Nimkish Park would be. But yeah, I'm happy with anywhere at Nimkish Park if it means they're going to have their long-term home.
Thank you, Councillor Waymire. Councillor Pickard.
Thank you through the chair. And I like the idea that you presented in your motion of them staying, because it wasn't their request ever to move from the days of Lisa Poitras and finding that original spot. That was selected as the best option, but just with the uncertainty of the JCC, we came up with some different alternatives. But also it is a really pretty great time with our master plan coming up this year, and having them involved in the consultation and engagement and seeing if that is a better long-term option. Seems like it would be really beneficial to do together and to have some feedback on that option. So I think that's something we should consider maybe before.
That's none of you people making that noise, is it?
Conclude. Yeah. So I don't
interrupted.
I don't know
wasn't
what
sure
it
if I
was.
finished or
Maybe
not.
my stomach. I don't want to drag it out longer for them, but we have this year set, and I don't know if there's an update on the funding that was maybe in jeopardy to buy some equipment for long-term stuff that needed to be spent by March 31st, but hopefully that was spent on some long-term-ish equipment or some purchases that could count. And without dragging it on, it would be really valuable to have in the community master plan up for Nimkish Park and see if it would be better and more conducive to them with expansion thoughts and different memorial benches or pathways or covered areas or something. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Pickard. Councillor Boston, did you want to weigh in?
Thank you through the chair. My opinion hasn't changed. I agree with all my fellow councillors. And I will be voting no for option 1.
Makes it pretty easy. Call for the question, all in favor? And so, and I guess everybody is opposed. Okay, that one's down. It sounds like option 3 is more of the liking than for this council. So you guys, I'm just going to go to option 3 because I didn't think option 2 has any support or could get through. So option number 3 says that the Gold River Community Gardens Group be given permission to relocate to Nimkish Park and that the Gold River Community Group be awarded a long-term lease. And the location of the site at Nimkish Park is to be determined by the Village of Gold River in consultation with the Gold River Community Group. And all the terms and conditions for a lease are to be negotiated with the Village of Gold River. Who would care to move it? Councillor Pringle? Councillor Fawson, discussion? Councillor Pringle?
Yay. Thank you to the chair.
It's democracy. We're working through it. It's an ugly thing, but it turns out good results. Any other conversations? I think we discussed that. Ready to call for the question? Did you want to discuss? Councillor Pickard.
Thank you through the chair. So this option is to move to Nimkish or to be involved in the engagement in a community plan for
Move
the
to
master
Nimkish.
community plan.
My understanding is it's to move to
move
Nimkish.
to
That'll be their new
Nimkish.
permanent site.
Yeah, if through engagement process, they decide that is a better option, can we add that as an add-on?
Engagement, well, it has to be determined, the site has to be determined between consultation with the Village of Gold River and their group, probably achieve the same thing. It is covered. We're not just gonna tell them they have to go to the swamp. They don't have a choice. They're
Okay,
gonna have some
perfect.
input in the process, right?
If they determine they'd
Yeah,
rather move, let's put that,
That's the
okay.
intent of that, to
Okay.
make sure that it's,
Okay.
that both parties are agreeable. It's a win-win rather than a win-lose. Any others? Sorry, you can't, we don't accept public input at this time. During the question period, you're welcome to ask any question you like, sir, pertaining to the agenda. No other discussion? Call for the question on option 3. Everybody understands it? All in favor? You have a new home. Well done, you guys. Agenda item number 9, reports to council. Councillor Fawson.
None at this time, your worship.
Thank you. Councillor Pickard.
Okay, thank you through the chair. I report, I'm really happy to have the Gold River Community Garden have a potential permanent home. So thank you all for that. And in watershed aquaculture fisheries news, I did the Nukasam watershed monthly meeting March 26th in attendance via Zoom, and there was some great project updates there. The Tubular Trees and BC Salmon Restoration and Innovation Program are just in their fiscal year-end reporting now, so finishing their fiscal year-end reports. And the Mushlook Gravel project that we've spoken to about a little bit is stuck in a permitting loop with the province for the in-stream permitting needed. So hoping to sort that out in the next few weeks and start construction 2025. It's already got pushed since last year. There's an upcoming discussion with Minister Randy Neal. So she's the Minister for Walrus this Thursday, which will be great. She wants to hear from local governments what their priorities and concerns are and how governments can work together to find solutions. And I'm excited to talk to her about that in specific because we have this really precedent-setting important conservation project for salmon habitat in our area that the village is in support of, the SRD is in support of, MMFN is a partner on, Salmon Parks is a partner on, Western Forests is a big donor and partner on. We have funding from Pacific Salmon Foundation and Pacific Salmon Commission are asking no funding, but are stuck in permitting loops with the province in a project that's inconsistent with their mandate. So I think it'll be a really good chance for us to kind of chat with her and, you know, give some constructive feedback on delays in permitting, how we get stuck in permitting. And they've also started consultations with MFN and New Chatlat for the Habitat Participation Program on feedback for the Habitat Prioritization Plan for the Pacific region. So also really exciting to have some region-wide restoration goals, you know, between the different nations that surround Gold River. And also Sunday, I was honored to be part of the Partners in Grime, kind of a newer group in Gold River. That's everybody always is doing their part to organize and clean up trash, but this is a little bit of an organized group. So they needed a truck. So it was really exciting. And thanks to all the organizers and volunteers who came out and who have done it in the past. And thanks to everyone who helps keep Gold River pristine and beautiful on a regular basis. And also thanks to the services coordinator for the Comox Valley Regional District for issuing a free tipping pass. I know that can be kind of an issue, collecting so much garbage that you don't want to have to pay for it. So hopefully that people still take their trash to the depot, but also thanks to all the people who are willing to clean up the trash from our forests and important watersheds. And so far they've collected 2,250 pounds of trash. So yeah, it's like disheartening, but also inspiring that people come together and want to make an impact on this amazing area. And we were fortunate, Councillor Waymeyer, Mayor Lott and I, to meet Jennifer Lash, a Liberal candidate for the federal election last Friday here, and hear her perspective and talk to her about what Gold River needs and wants. And that was interesting. And Tennille, the NDP candidate, was in town. I didn't get to see her. And hopefully we'll get to meet Aaron Gunn, the Conservative candidate. So anyway, exciting times. And yeah, lots of great Gold River priorities that we're pushing. So, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Pickert. Councillor Pringle.
Nothing at this time, just we're attending the AVICC this weekend. So that should
what is
be
that?
come back in Nanaimo.
What is that? The AVIC?
Oh,
what's
don't
the
ask
staff?
me.
Association of Vancouver and
Island.
Coastal Communities.
That's it.
That one?
Right, that
Yeah. Most people don't know acronyms.
I'm terrible for acronyms.
Me too.
But anyways, yeah, so that'll be great. At our next council meeting, we'll be able to have some report back. That would be great.
Terrific. Thank you, Councillor Pringle. Councillor Rimmer, you're good?
Nothing this time.
Yeah, the only. Yeah, the only thing that I have to add is that I did enjoy the meeting that we had with Jennifer Lash. It was very informative, and we learned a lot about what's happening in the federal campaign. And she expressed a lot of interest in Gold River. She talked about a lot of things that she thought she could help us out with in Ottawa in terms of things that we wanted to get done in our community. And that revolved mostly around economic development, predominantly aquaculture. And it was nice to hear her perspective on things. And I'm appreciative that she came, spent her time to visit with us and to share her, her interest in Gold River and explain how she could help us in Ottawa, helping us achieve some of our goals and objectives. On the same vein, I had the opportunity to meet our new MLA, Ann Metternich. I was still trying to figure out how to pronounce her name properly. I think I've got it down now. It's Dr. Anna Kindy, lovely lady, wonderful to talk with, very, very knowledgeable, very engaged, very passionate. And she also is a strong advocate, wants to be a strong advocate and supporter and a facilitator for the Village of Gold River and the Nootka Sound region. Spent a lot of time when we were meeting talking about economic development opportunities, because that was the thing that I identified as being number one priority for Gold River. And we talked about a number of different things that we thought were important. And she said that she would be working on those. And she also said that she would love to come back and visit with the Gold River Council and the community. And she's quite busy right now because this really steep learning curve. I think it's the first time she's been a politician. She's always acted in the private sector. So or the public sector, but she's never been a politician to my knowledge. So she's indicated that she will come back and visit with this council and the community and do a presentation at that time. And hopefully get to know you guys a little bit better as well as the community a little bit better. But she is, she's really enthused about the job, and she's looking forward to serving all the constituents in our community. So Dr. Ankine, I look forward to having her back in the community again to share with this council and this community. I think that she might be able to help us in a few things. That's about it for me. Information items, we don't have any information items. Number 10. Number 10A, work in progress. Move, the motion is the council receive the work in progress for information. Who'd care to move it? Councillor Waymer, Councillor Foster second. Any discussion? Seeing none, call for the question. All in favor? Good. Reports of committees, I see none. Bylaws, seeing none. Correspondence, we have block correspondence. The motion is that council receive the block correspondence for information. Who'd care to move it? Councillor Foster, Councillor Pring, or Councillor Pickard. Any discussion on any of the items there? I think there's an ask in one of them with the legions. Who would care, Councillor Pickard? I'll get back to you.
Thank you. The chair, and yeah, just pulling out one letter, it's the Legion one. And the ask there is, let me know if council's interested in entertaining the idea of the 60th anniversary of the village this year, 100th anniversary of the Legion, for the crosswalks. So I think it's interesting. We should reach out to them and find out who's painting and logistics and stuff, but it could tie in really well to our 60th anniversary and add a pop of color to our streets.
Councillor Briggle.
Thank you to the chair. This is exactly what we heard when we had our community consultation here. Was it in the fall? Seems like it was like, wow, just the other day, but so long ago. And that was one of the things that was brought up, was that some people would like to see the beautification of our streets with some crosswalks and crosswalk painting. And I think this would be a really apropos, and because I really like those, the design that they had, that was very, very classy. So I would hope that do we make a motion, or what do we do? Do we ask them to ask?
I just,
For
we can
feasibility
certainly
or-
we can certainly make a motion. I think that there's, when I read the letter, it sounds like they were looking for support for concept, and that's okay. But it wasn't clear with their request whether they were expecting the Village of Gold River to bear the costs for the installation of these graphics. I wasn't certain. It doesn't really say. It kind of looks like they're just looking for support, and I don't have a problem supporting them, but I just wanted to know whether or not we're looking at the cost of installing them and buying the graphics, the paint, putting the staff out there, and so I'm not quite sure. And whether or not there's any issues with staff, with any legislation that might restrict us from changing the configuration of a side or a crosswalk, like they're designed for safety. And I don't want to make sure that we're not violating anything that might be in any government legislation. Mr. Roy, do you have any more details on this that you could share with us?
No, I don't, your worship, but if this is something council's interested in being further explored, I would suggest then that maybe be referred back to staff to have the discussion with the Legion and prepare a report to come back to council.
Okay, and I'd like to move that. And any more discussion on that item? All in favor? Carried. Any other discussion that you guys like to have on correspondence? Councillor Foster.
Thank you, through the chair. I guess I just have one question. It's in regards to the last letter from the provincial government. And I guess my question would be to our administrator through the chair.
Yes.
Do we have naloxone kits within the village office and the village facilities?
Minister Roy.
Your worship. Through your worship, no, we don't. When this correspondence came in, we do have some concerns that we'd have to want to address if the council wants to go forward with this, because these items do have a shelf life on them. So it'd be who would replace them in the future. And also there may have to be some discussions with the union around training items with this item. So if this is something council wishes to explore again, similar to the other item, I would refer it back to staff for further details and review.
What's your pleasure there, Councillor Fawson?
I would like us to look at this in the future. And right now, I don't know if I should make a motion to have staff, us to direct staff to look into this. I think
I
having
think
those
that
kids
staff would
are.
appreciate the clarity. Do we want to move forward with
I
it or do we
think we
not?
should, I would like to see if council would like to move forward on this issue. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know how to direct it. I guess you could say I would like to see us as council, maybe
How
want
about
to
we
give
just
direction
refer
to
it back
staff.
to staff for us, for a report
Yes,
on
thank you.
the implementation, so that if there's any questions or problems or issues with it, they can bring it to our attention and we'd have an informed, at least we have a report, we can make an informed decision. So refer to staff for report. So it was moved by Councillor Fawson, second by Councillor Waymar. Any other discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously, done. Terrific. We're still on that, huh? We're still on correspondence. Did you guys want to have any more discussion on correspondence or we just receive it now or just vote on it now? Okay, call for the question for correspondence. All in favor? Done. New business, none. Question period. Sir, if you want to ask a question, you're welcome to sit just behind that mic there, introduce yourself, and you can address your question to council. Welcome. Usually it's just name and address and fire away.
Glenn Morrison, street address or just Goldberg?
Well, I don't know if it's legal, but we usually ask for it, so that's the requirement.
Okay, 388 Jamis Crescent.
Okay,
Um,
what's your question, Glenn?
well, can I first express on behalf of the Garden Committee our appreciation for the concern and attention that you folks are giving to this question. The question about the number 3, the approved proposal for Nimkish Park was just the timing of implementation. We're okay to continue this season where we are. I'm assuming during which time we'll be looking into the questions about Nimkish to be starting that process as soon as the issues are resolved or the questions answered.
Yeah, you should have a year that we've given you, a bridging year that we passed that allows you to stay in your current location so that you have the season, it's not lost.
Yeah.
And between now and your next growing season, we'll leave it for the administration and the Goldberg Community Society to set up their consultation process and make a determination on what site location they want to go to. And so that discussion will be an operational issue between basically our administration and your executive group. And then we'll find a location that works for both parties and we're both happy with, and then we'll get on with it. Does that answer your question, Glenn?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
As you may be aware, our prime concern is stability of the location
Yeah.
and when those questions are all answered and resolved, then we'd be ready to move.
Yeah, because you got a little bit of work there.
Yeah.
Right, I can appreciate that. You're gonna
Yeah.
wrap up one growing season and then you're gonna have a shorter window in order to relocate all your stuff to be ready for the
Yeah.
next growing season. But you guys are the pros on this and you're passionate about it. And I'm sure that you guys have your timelines down. I'll leave it with you. You guys are better at, and our administration is better at making this transition smooth and work for both parties than me trying to figure out how things should be going.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. Take care. Any other questions from the gallery? You have to go and do the same thing there, Chris. Yeah. Yeah, no, we wouldn't spend a lot of money on this stuff.
Chris White, 507 Golden Hind. I
Hi,
just want to
Chris.
say to the council, thank you. For the financial information I heard tonight was great. We
I
got a
agree.
surplus and it just made me smile. That's good. You're managing the money well, and I truly appreciate that. It's the biggest concern I've ever had. You know, and good work. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Yeah,
sir.
you bet.
Sleepless nights.
Yeah, and if I could just take a liberty, just do a friendly amendment to what you said, Chris, is that the council's involved in the process, but it doesn't happen without the staff and the employees and counselors, all their buy-ins and all their efforts too. So it's a collective, it's a team effort. So I know that's what your intention probably was, but yeah, the audit information affirms what we want to be doing. We want to be getting on a road of, solvency rather than bankruptcy. Yes, sir. Thank you. I like those comments. So you can come back and say, oh, we just love that stuff. We just gobble that stuff up. I made my night. Notice of motions, none. Have we had a motion to adjourn in camera? Who would care to make that motion? Councilor Fawson, who would second it? Councilor Pringle. No discussion. Call for the question. All in favor? We are on a bio break. And I thank you folks for coming out. That's terrific. And thank you again, Counselor. I love you.